Hey everybody, Coach Sal here. Episode 3 of the Thinking Body Revival. Got some interesting new stuff today. Again, highlighting the difference between the old and the new. I think right here on the bookshelf, you've got a little bit of a preview of what's to come. I have one of my favorite old books, Recreative Physical Exercises and Activities. It's phenomenal. I'm going to release it in PDF form on a Patreon account I'm going to have. That's upcoming. I'm teasing that today. Also, right next to it is my Apple Watch that I haven't used in a long time. I got fed up with it. I think this wearable tech stuff is garbage. It's nonsense. And it's worse than that, but we'll get to that. Recreative Physical Exercises booklet. It's from an English soccer club. Looks to be in the 40s. I have no date on it. There's an inscription on the inside cover in someone's handwriting, 1949. No better illustration of how much function we've lost by some of the exercises and movements they show in that book. With the advent of all this tech we haven't gotten any better at movement. And I'll show you, and I'll humiliate myself, humble myself a little bit, trying to get to some of these movements that are in this book. Again, this is going to be released in full on my Patreon once I get that going, and that's going to be in the next week or so. But you'll get an idea for that a little bit later on. And again, right next to it, again, is that Apple Watch that I haven't used. And I'm going to show you a couple of the exercises. I'm going to try to do a couple of these exercises. One I've been chasing for a while with varying degrees of success. And the other one is really difficult. I'll explain that as we go. And it's time to flip the clock. All right, so here we are for a little bit more detail on some of the things I talked about. By the way, one of the things I neglected to mention in the little preview is I'm continuing my effort to do my remote training service. I'm not going to hammer on that today. At the end of the show, I'm going to just include the slides with the information about how you can train with me, as well as how you can contact me, DM me through X or email me. Well, what I will say as an aside is I'm always willing and I always want to give more information than just, hey, listen to me, this is what I think. Any questions on any of this stuff comes up while you watch the show, contact me. I will answer you. I have reasons for everything. You might disagree with them, but I think I'm pretty good at giving up reasons for why I feel the way I do. And, I don't like to use a lot of notes. Most of the stuff I go off the cuff because, especially when it comes to the exercise stuff, it's just so built into what I do. I'm doing it 24/7. But when I get into some details, as we're going to talk about today, with specifically to this wearable technology, I need to have some notes because the numbers and some of the other things that go along with discussing this issue, I need to have stuff in front of me. And I want to be right. And so I don't, again, like to use notes too much, but I know what I'm good at and I know what I'm not good at. Here's a great thing about this old is gold. When you can take a booklet from the 40s and juxtapose it next to this new tech and really pretty clearly make the case for why one is better than the other. There's this concept that I'm going to constantly talk about on the show over time. It's this timeline superiority. And what that means is we feel, or many of us, or if there's a prevailing feeling sense in society, if you read arguments about, say, sports today versus a generation, 2 generations ago, that we're better because we're here. We occupy this most recent spot on the timeline, so therefore that makes us better than anything that came before us. We can talk all day about why that's not true, and I'll throw some of those in there as we go. Here's my favorite. We still cannot build the pyramids, the Egyptian pyramids today with the technology that we have, with the exactness that we can achieve. It's still not close to what they did however long ago you believe those pyramids were built. We cannot do that today. There's one of your examples. Your other example is empires fall. If timeline superiority was all you needed to prove you're better than what came before you, empires would never fall. Rome would have never fallen, right? So there's some historical context. And we see it in sport all the time. The arguments today in certain things like Major League Baseball and in exercise culture is that, well, we're here, we're better off than they were a generation ago. Clearly, with our health outcomes, that's not the case. So you have this fitness tech. I had an Apple Watch, I wore it, and I got to the point where I felt, what am I doing this for? I don't need to know what my heart rate is 24/7. And these other devices are of no use to help your sleep because A, there is reason to believe it's not really accurate to the point where you're getting the real information. B, what are you going to do about it? I feel what most people that have sleep issues, it's anxiety. It's almost performance anxiety. The people I speak to that have trouble sleeping, they worry about it. And then they can't sleep and they worry about it more. And then they prepare and they do all these things to try to sleep, which makes it worse. The watch or the Whoop or whatever you're wearing, that could turn you into one of these worry warts about your sleep because it's not helping you sleep better. It's just telling you about your sleep. You don't need this device to tell you what your heart rate is because you should be able to do that yourself. This technology is putting a further wedge between us and our bodies. We're losing touch with ourselves. That's why we can't function like we used to. That's why there's exercises in this book, more than a few, almost some I wouldn't say average movements, but there's an expectation that people are going to be able to do some of the things in this book that you can't do because we've lost function. When you look at the fitness tech, it's not helping the obese. Obesity is up. It's not helping the fit because if you're already fit, it really is not doing anything for you. It's a crutch. There really are no studies that have been done to justify the use of these devices other than, I guess, people who want to collect data for data's purposes. And that's the other thing. There's data collection for the sake of data collection, and there's data collection for the sake of really actionable information that you can get and do things about. I don't believe any of these any of these wearables provide you with that. Now, we haven't even touched about the privacy issue, and there have been huge data breaches with very important information that's collected and associated with this wearable tech. All of these devices have experienced some form or another of a data breach. And whether or not that data is breached or not, these other entities are collecting this highly sensitive data. And we'll get into this later on. I'm going to go into more detail about the issue, but TikTok was banned, or there was a move to ban TikTok because the Chinese were using whatever data they were pulling out of the TikTok viewer habits, and somehow that was this nefarious end of the world situation. I got news for you. What data gets pulled from you from this tech, wearable tech, is way more sensitive and potentially way more damaging to you and can be used in ways that it shouldn't be used, way more dangerous, way more intrusive than anything TikTok could do. And I haven't seen an uproar on Capitol Hill about the wearable industry and what that data and taking that data can do to the people who use it. We're at the point now, anyone who thinks you're getting something for free, even though you're paying for this, the other stuff, you're not getting anything for free. Every website you sign into, all these sites, they're using your data. Nothing is free. Any of these free apps, not free because they're using your data. So we have all this tech, going back to the tech, and it doesn't help you move any better. It doesn't. I see it all the time. I have athletes that wear these things. They still can't do basic movements. So what does that tell you about how effective this tech could be. When you look at the stuff that's in this book, and again, I'm going to show you a couple of the things, but 34 pages, all body weight movement, all basically, I shouldn't say all, basically every move in that book, you're on your feet. There are a lot of partner drills, which is great if you have a sport, team sport, if you have a training partner, great stuff in here. I'm going to show you again a couple of the movements and talk more about them. They didn't need tech to move better than we move today. There's another indication that this concept of we're better than what was before us, than the generations that were before us, based on where we are in the timeline, not the case, because I'm pretty good. I have some pretty good mobility. I have pretty good workouts. I spend time on things. Can't do a lot of those things in the book. Now, granted, at my age, with other issues I'm dealing with, it's more difficult, but it's important that you recognize the need to have this kind of roots. I call them roots exercises, back to basic exercises. All the other stuff, just like the wearable tech, is bells and whistles. All right, so next segment. Looking at the clock, I went long, so we're going to go over. Next segment is going to go over some of these exercises. All right, so here we are. I'm going to humiliate and humble myself here with things I can't do. It's not an excuse, but a year ago I couldn't walk. I had a hip that needed to be replaced, and I didn't take my own advice, and I kept exercising and doing things I shouldn't have been doing, on my feet, working, and I hurt my back to the point where I was bedridden and couldn't do anything. We're almost a year from the surgery, and just the last week or so, I've been able to get back to doing things I hadn't been able to do for 5 years because of the deterioration of my hip and then my stubbornness at not adjusting to what my new capabilities were. The good news is, because I did keep up with a lot of the normal mobility work, because this was such an issue, I bounced back and I'm doing things I was able to do in my early 50s. I'm in my early 60s now. There's something to be said for the way I train, and over time, again, I hope you come away with that. This is a furniture grade PVC stick that I've made with rubber tips that come from canes and walkers, and I use it a lot in my training for other movements that help with mobility. Here's an exercise from the booklet, and I can't do it. All right, it's just stepping over a stick. The concept is you hold the stick wherever you need to, and you're trying to get your foot over it. All right, I could obviously do that to get there, right? And then you try to get the other one over, and I just can't do it. I lost a lot of mobility in my low back from what I've gone through. It's getting better. Early in the day, when I'm not totally loose and warmed up, or if I haven't gone through my movement routine, it is very difficult. But again, it's a simple thing. Take a stick, a broomstick, a Swiffer stick, try to step over that and step back and then reverse it. So you can see the difficulty I had. This is the hip I had replaced. I was able to get that foot over, right? Here, tough. And to be honest with you, you feel that, I feel that in my back. This is something I'm going to start to work on. I believe this is a high level movement compared to what I can do. I can do a lot of other things that, quote, look like mobility, and my back is good. I can bend and touch my toes. Obviously, that's not indicative of other forms of higher level function. You can see it right there. Again, that's the beauty of this booklet. There are things in there that look like they're going to be easy to do, and you just can't do them. And it's good. To me, I love having a challenge. The next exercise I'm going to try, which I can't do, it's called turning under a stick. It's ridiculous. You'll see a picture of it. I'm going to try to explain it now. Turning under a stick is literally that. You take this stick, overhand grip here, under grip, hand grip here, and what you're trying to do is get your body up, down, and around and under it so that your head goes under your arm. And it's ridiculously difficult. I can almost get there on the one side. This side, overhand grip, so your thumb's down, thumb up here, and you get down. Oh, sorry, this hand's here, sorry. Thumbs are down on both sides, my bad. Underneath, a little better that side. The idea is to get all the way down, around, and through. Real taxing. Just keeping your balance on this alone is difficult. When I saw that move in the booklet, my thought was, what the heck is that guy even trying to do? Another thing I'll say is in the booklet, it asks or tells you could have someone spot this stick, which is really not much easier because of the difficulty that comes with holding on to this and working with someone else. It's a workout for both people. And that's one of the things I want to touch upon about the stuff, the drills, I call them drills, movements, exercises in the booklet, is it's phenomenal, the two-person workout. The stick wrestling, where you have two people grabbing the same stick and working back and forth. If you have a sports team you train, this is the lost art of strength development. This is the lost art of balance. The book breaks things down into body parts. There are no body parts when you do this kind of training. In the mindset of the 1940s, arm training included stuff like tug of war, which is anything but arm training, or everything but arm training. It's everything on your feet. It's what you hear people talk about core strength. I call it vertical stability. The core is this mythical body part, doesn't exist. Your vertical stability is what we need. If you really want to talk about your core, you have to accept the description or the definition of your core. It goes from your upper torso down into your mid to lower leg. Because when you are doing these exercises where you need to be stable vertically, that's how we compete, that's how we move about. We're vertical. You need vertical stability, not core strength. That's the more specific, precise, proper explanation, description of what we're talking about here. So give that one a try. You could use it with a broomstick. It will do more for your mobility than all the other stretches you can do. Believe me, I can do a lot of good mobility work. Can't get to this. I'm going to work on it and report back to you and see how I can get better at it. And if I can get better at it, anybody can. All right? Thanks. All right, everybody. That's it for the third episode. I hope you learned something from it. I know I did. I, again, look for challenges in my workouts. I think that stepping over the stick and turning under the stick, two seemingly simple moves that really can show you where your mobility is lacking, your stability is lacking. Movements require mobility and stability. All the tech devices in the world, or there's not a tech device in the world that's going to help you get better at something simple like that. Those are the kind of moves that you can't compare to anything else that is done in modern training. You won't see anything like that from any of these social media influencers. And again, technology is great for certain things, but it can't replace other things. And you have a great example of that today. You have a booklet from the 40s that is going to do much more for you than any kind of tech you could buy. And you're going to be able to have access to that booklet on my Patreon account. That'll be up by next week, and you will start to get the installments and be able to work that into your own training session. One of the other things, again, I said I wanted to bring up is you could get the details for my training. Just wait till the credits roll. You'll see my private session rate and the group session rate. I'm not taking a bunch of people. I already have some takers. So those times are going to become less available as we go. You could always DM me at Sal Marinello on X, and email me at coachsalm@protonmail.me. Remember, tech's not going to solve your problems. Good hard work, knowledge, become an emerging expert, and join this revival army, and your workouts will never be better, and you'll feel better, and you can do anything you want. Thanks a lot. We'll see you next week.